Good morning. Today we read Matthew chapter 28, the story of the resurrection of Jesus, and it's a fairly short chapter, and just 20 verses in it, and it begins with very early after the Sabbath, as day was dawning, Mary and the other Mary went to the tomb. They were still filled with sorrow. They were mourning. They were going to anoint Jesus' body with oils and perfumes, with incense, to pay honor and respect to Jesus after he had died. And as Matthew writes this, it's as these women are approaching, an angel of the Lord suddenly appears, and there's an earthquake, and this angel descends from heaven and rolls back the stone and sits on it. And this stone was a big stone, huge, but the angel, the stone was no match for the angel. It rolled the stone open and sat upon it. And it says his appearance was like lightning and his clothing white as snow. And that image with the angel, appearance like lightning and his clothing as white as snow reminds me of when Jesus took Peter, James, and John up on the mountain of transfiguration. This Sunday is Transfiguration Sunday, and we have that story from Matthew 17. And, Jesus radiates, light radiates from Jesus, and he is returned to his heavenly glory and his heavenly splendor. And that's this angel that is here on the resurrection morning that the women see is in all of his heavenly glory. We see the pureness, the purity and the righteousness and the rightness of these heavenly beings. And the angel sits there on the stone, and it says that the guards were struck with fear and could not move. They were like dead men. They were paralyzed. They were just, they were standing like statues, and couldn't do anything. And the angel spoke to the women, and he uses those words, "Do not be afraid," that we hear those words so often in the Bible. Do not be afraid, or have no fear. And he says, you're looking for Jesus, but he's not here. He's been raised from the dead, just like he told you. And I mean, it was such a story of hope for the people, the disciples and these women, that Jesus would rise from the dead, but yet, they certainly didn't expect it. It wasn't something that was normal. It was much more normal for the dead body to remain dead and in the grave that way. And the angel invites them to come and see where Jesus had laid. And then he says to them, "Go quickly and tell his disciples." And, and the women do. I mean, they change from coming with their oils and their spices to anoint the dead body of Jesus, filled with mourning and tears and sorrow, to all of a sudden this, I don't know, is it total joy, or is it, the shock? Is it, they still disbelief of some sort, but just think of the change that has come over them. And we can't, no matter how hard we try, we can't really put ourselves in that position. We can prepare for Jesus' death on Good Friday, and we can read those texts, but yet we know the story, so we don't have that complete sense of pain, of loss, of suffering, of sorrow. But these women did. And so for them to come expecting to find Jesus' body, and to have the angel tell them that he's living, what a change in their demeanor. And they do, and it says that they left the tomb quickly with fear and great joy. And with fear and great joy, and exactly. You mix those two emotions and think of all of the emotions that they had, and they were running to tell the disciples. And then Matthew tells us, suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." Like, "Good morning." just like it's no big deal. Here I am, just another everyday occurrence. And they fall on their knees at his feet and they worship him. And Jesus tells them the same thing that the angels did, that go tell my disciples that I'm going before them to Galilee and they will see me there. And as the women, Matthew goes on to tell the story in verse 11, while they were going, some of the guard went into the city and told the chief priests everything that had happened. So, it wasn't only the women that witnessed this, but some of the guard, they had gotten away from their paralyzed state, and they had gone in then now to tell the chief priests, what had happened. I mean, these same people that had gone and wanted this guard posted so that the disciples couldn't come and steal the body, they witnessed the resurrection as well. They were there when the earth shook and the thunder rolled and everything happened and the angel came and rolled the stone away. They too saw the angel. They were struck with fear, paralyzed with everything that was going on. But yet they witnessed what had happened. And so they went to the chief priests and they told them what had happened. And the chief priests give them a large amount of money and say, we're going to, when you tell the story, that the disciples came and stole his body. They overpowered you somehow. And, really? These disciples, these fishermen came and overpowered the guards with their swords and armor and stole the body? I mean, you got to have a little bit more believable story than that, I think. Their words are, you must say that his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep. You're supposed to admit that you fell asleep on the job, that all of you fell asleep on the job. And what kind of guards would do that? What kind of soldiers would do that? But yet they got paid to say that. And, that wouldn't go over very well. And, then the chief priests say, if this comes to the governor's ears, we'll cover up for you. We'll tell, because the governor would have been irate with his guards falling asleep. They would have been in trouble. And verse 15 says, they took the money, they did as they were directed, and this story is still told among the Jews today. So, the early stories of the early telling of Jesus' resurrection, of his being raised to new life, of the people seeing him, were contradicted by this story that the guards told, that the chief priests came up with, this lie, that, the disciples came and stole him away while we were sleeping, So that was, it was just one more thing that the Pharisees, the chief priests, came up with to try to discount Jesus and the resurrection. The disciples then do go to Galilee, Matthew tells us. They went to Galilee, to the mountain which Jesus had directed them. And when they got there, Jesus was there. And they fell down to worship him. And here's where we have what we call the Great Commission. Jesus says to them, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And then he says, and lo, remember, I am with you always to the end of the age. Those are Jesus' words to the disciples, to go and to tell. And this is one of the reasons that we baptize today, is because it was a command from Jesus. He told his disciples, take and eat this bread, take and drink this wine. That was a commandment. And when he, go and baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teach them all I have commanded you. It isn't just to baptize, but it's to teach them the laws. It's to teach them of God's love. It's to show grace and humility. And so this is what Jesus tells his disciples. And as I said, that's called the Great Commission. And where John is known for having 7 I am statements, I think this I am statement at the end of Matthew is every bit as important. I am with you always to the end of the age. Promise from Jesus to each and every one of us. I am with you to the end of the age. Those are Jesus' words for us every day.